I want to sing very old song.
Okay, hello. Welcome. This is your new moon newsletter for Virgo 2020. Today is the 17th of September, and we are just a few hours on the other side of the new moon as I record this just after 2 p.m. here in Portugal. So this is a very special month, as we'll discuss. In this video, we're going to illuminate the extraordinary nature of this extra month, talk about what that means. We'll talk about the changing of the nodes coming up next week. We've been talking about this a lot, and it's finally here, finally happening. And Mars is in a very powerful retrograde cycle right now, so we'll talk about what that has in store for us. And looking at Venus changing signs, moving from Cancer to Leo later this month. So that's what we'll cover generally. We're going to analyze the new moon chart and go deep as always. But first, want to offer a couple event announcements. On Wednesday, September 23rd at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 4 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. where I am here. I'm going to offer a free class called The Changing of the Nodes, where we're going to cover what are the nodes in the first place from a Rahu and Ketu, the shadow planets. And so we'll talk about what they are, what is the astronomical reality that defines these planets. And we'll talk generally about what this transit through Taurus and Scorpio means for the planet as a whole. And then we'll go through each sign individually and talk about the different dynamics that you can expect. So sign up for that. There's a link in the newsletter, and let me know what your sign is, so I can prepare especially to talk about what is going to be in store for you. Is another 18-month cycle starting, and we are obviously in epochal times at the moment. So you want to be ready for that and aware of what's happening on a karmic level. So please join me for that. You can sign up on the landing page linked just above this video, I believe. And then on Saturday, October 3rd, in partnership with Cultivate Balance, we are offering the next installment of what we're calling Cosmic Cultivation, Ayurvedic Astrology for Transformative Times. And so in the last session, we went through some of the vocabulary and the key concepts of how we link together astrology and Ayurveda. And so we'll continue to lay that groundwork and go into how we can then use that information to really more deeply understand ourselves and the world around us, and do sort of basic interpretations of a Jyotish chart so that anyone can look at that and understand, oh, here are the essential energies at play right now. So please join us for that. Again, that's Saturday, October 3rd at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which again is noon Eastern and 5 p.m. here in Portugal, Western European time. Okay, that being said, let's dive right in and look at these charts. Now, said this is a very special month, and it is. It is a month called Ashtika Masa, and it basically means extra, an extra month. And so I'm showing you these two charts side by side here, and you can see that we have 2 consecutive new moons in Virgo, and what we see with that is, okay, so today here's the sun and moon together here, right, at 0 degrees and 52 minutes. So just a little bit less than 1 degree from Leo into Virgo. And so usually, new moons take place about 30 degrees from one another. And, one sign of the zodiac is 30 degrees. 12 signs times 30 degrees makes a 360-degree loop around us on Earth here. And and so what's so special about this month is we have the new moon in Virgo here, right at the beginning. And then the next new moon is still in Virgo at 29 degrees, happening right on this border, just 25 minutes before the sun and moon move into Libra. So this happens once every 32 months or so, approximately. And it accounts for the difference between the lunar year and a solar year. And so every month, the lunar cycle is about half a day shorter than the solar cycle. And thus, every year, the lunar year is about 11 days shorter than the solar year. And so every 32 and a half months or so, there has been enough accumulation of sort of extra days that there's a whole extra month. And that's represented by when we have 2 consecutive new moons in the same sign. Now, I've composed a whole article going through sort of the details and the technicalities of what this is and what it means, and included some videos from other experts talking about what is going on. So check that out. Again, that's linked in the newsletter. It's on my website, betadave.com/library. It's there. And so suffice for now to say that this is considered a very holy month. There are no festivals held. Typically in the Vedic calendar, there are festivals every month. Not this month. It's a time for prayer. It is a time for introspection. It's a time for recovery of all that has been lost, right? This is sort of a lost month. All this time sort of slipping through the cracks of the cosmos is now being offered back to us. And so we want to be very conscientious and quite still, actually, and sort of appreciating this. It's almost like a time outside of time. And it's in Virgo, right? So it's a great opportunity to be cleaning house, organizing your closet, reorganizing your desk, thinking about your personal space, your personal life, your businesses. I mean, depending where this lands in your chart, this will impact different areas of your life, but thinking about your life in terms of with a systems view, right? Systems analysis. So even thinking about your pathways through your house. What are the pathways that you walk most often, and how efficiently is your space organized to facilitate those movements? And maybe there's some restructuring you can do. Maybe your desk is a mess and there's papers everywhere. And so this is the time, it's very much back to school time, where it's like sharpen your pencils, get your pencil box organized, have them laid out nicely in a row, have your stack of papers, get that really sort of precise organization. One of the things I'm doing is in the realm of my finances, and for the first time in my life, really, I'm keeping up with my spreadsheets, and I'm doing income and output, and really getting specific about what is happening and using these spreadsheets, which is very new for me. I live very much up here in the realm of Pisces, which is the more abstract, poetic, metaphysical space, and you see exactly opposite that down here is Virgo, which is that precision, the organization, attention to detail. So I'm doing my best to embody that, and I would encourage you to do the same this month. And the thing to note is that really you've got 2 months of Virgo energy, technically. Again, this next month is again, it's all borderline, right? Barely out of Leo here, barely short of Libra here, but really you've got 2 months of this Virgo energy to get organized, enhance your sense of precision. And I mean, one of the things to think about is that this takes us through the next new moon that is not in Virgo is November 14th. And it happens right at the end of Libra here. And so between now and the election, right? This includes the election in the States. We're in this Virgo period. And so I think that is favorable for a more orderly outcome. I mean, Virgo, if any sign is responsible for, the census and the sort of skillful organization of large amounts of data, Virgo can handle it, right? And so I'm encouraged by that. There's a lot of other factors at play. It's a very, very busy time astrologically, and from now until the end of the year is, to be honest, more tumultuous than the first part of the year has been. The first 4 or 5 months of 2020 is obviously quite crazy, but starting now through the end of the year is actually a more intense. There's more transition, there's more change happening. So just be ready. And so we'll talk about that, and stick with me. I've got I'll keep you updated as best I can, because there's so much happening. There's so much to keep track of, but I'm here with you. So let's keep going. Okay. So yeah, wanted to just talk about Virgo a little bit. Virgo is a dual earth sign. So there's this very down to earth, practical side. Virgo is the best question asker of the zodiac, and it's questions about like getting down into the nitty gritty of details. And like, if you have a project manager, you want them to be Virgo, because they're going to keep track of every detail. And, okay, this person's in charge of this part of the project, but the Virgo person knows more about it than they do, and knows what questions to ask, and thinks about, again, the sort of systems analysis that sort of people, I mean, I am always in awe of Virgo people, because they're asking questions that never even occurred to me to ask, but they're on it, and they can see the whole picture and drill down into the details. And part of that is that dual quality, right? They can be fixed, which is sort of sturdy and like rigid in a way, but that can also be solid and reliable, and so that you can trust them to be put in charge of a project. And they have the mobile quality. So there's this changeable, there's a quickness and adaptability that is not the most common thing for an earth sign. So there's the quickness, there's that movement, that quality of mobility in the realm of earth, which means they can shift structures and see, okay, if a whole structure is not working, they can do the analysis and be willing to make that shift and then solidify it, right? So the capacity to do both gives Virgo this dynamism that is really, really interesting. And so interesting is a non-word. So this month is a great time to honor the fastidious one within us, and to grant great gratitude to our detail-oriented friends, and to do our best to embody those qualities of specificity and keeping track of every little detail. And one of my teachers, Simon Chukoyski, was talking about how without Virgo people, society would cease to function. And it's about like sewer systems and electricity and the internet and elections and censuses and all these like systems that are the underlying structure upon which society is based, is all sort of in the realm of Virgo, and the people who will keep track of all those details and take responsibility for it. And this is a big part of Virgo energy as well, is service to others. And in that sort of behind the scenes grunt work, they're not the politician, they are the election official who's making sure that it all runs smoothly so that the politician can take center stage and wield power, right? And so there is this sort of unsung quality, and Virgo people tend to just like, it's the sort of thing where they may not like it, but they are willing to take responsibility for the thing that nobody else sort of wants to or even notices is a thing that someone needs to take responsibility for, right? Virgo tends to, because they have that attention to detail, they're aware of the whole system and see where all the nuts and bolts are. they are uniquely capable of managing that. And so again, they may not like it. They're like, all right, well, I see this and nobody else does. And so if nobody else is going to do anything about it, I guess I will. And of course, then like they also tend to be capable of dealing with it. And so this is one of the things that we want to sort of check with our Virgo friends and our Virgo selves is, for what are we taking responsibility that may not be within our appropriate scope of influence? And are we stressing about things that actually aren't our responsibility and that we actually aren't equipped to deal with? And so this is one of the questions in the journal kernels and the activations this month is, what can you release responsibility for? What could you just completely drop in terms of your stress level? Like, what are you thinking about or worrying about that you could conceivably just totally drop and stop paying attention to, and it would survive just fine? Or it wouldn't, but it's not your responsibility. And so this is a really interesting question for us to ask ourselves is, okay, there is a sphere of influence that is appropriate and we are responsible for things, and we want to keep track of those as best we can. You know, my example is my personal finances. Okay, I'm responsible for that, and it's good, it's appropriate for me to worry a little bit, enough so that I'm checking the spreadsheet and making sure that all the numbers are in order and the math adds up and it's, you know, on the positive side, not the negative side, right? Black numbers, yeah. And there are definitely things that I spend a lot of energy worrying myself with, concerning myself about, that would not make any difference. It wouldn't make any difference to the reality of the situation if I never thought about it again. And so that's where I'm doing some inquiry right now. I invite you to do the same. Okay, so that's Virgo. Let's look at just this one chart because we don't need both new moon charts up there. Yeah, okay, you can see that, right? So one of the qualities I would like to mention is the fact that Jupiter is here in a square relationship to our new moon chart this month. In the fourth house, Jupiter direct in its own sign of Sagittarius, moving steadily back towards Capricorn now. But that transit won't happen until November 20th. And so until then, this is a great time to be diving into our teachings and specifically our like spiritual teachings. What connects us to our sense of higher power, something larger than ourselves, our sense of capital T truth. And it's the particular arrangement this month suggests that we want to connect that larger sense of truth as our sense of a root system. That fourth house is directly underfoot. You know, when we're sort of triangulating ourselves on the planet relative to the sky, the fourth house is directly below us, looking down straight towards the center of the earth. And so the contemplation or the process this month is to look at how your belief system, your spiritual practices, you know, very big difference between your sort of religious beliefs and your spiritual practices. And so to be engaged with all that, questioning it, exploring it, asking questions of your teachers, finding a new teacher maybe, and evaluating, you know, what are the old beliefs and are those still accurate with what your experience shows, and using all of that information, all of that wisdom and inspiration as a root system, as a stabilizing force through these tumultuous times. This is specifically strongly suggested right now until November 20th. Really, you know, again, we leave this Virgo cycle the 14th of November. And so that's when, you know, this square is no longer active. And then November 20th, Sagittarius goes into Capricorn. So there's this period between now and mid-November when we have the grace of the guru is with us. And so be asking questions, be seeking, be exploring, and connecting with your teachings, and solidify yourself, because you know, a tree can survive the storm and stand strong because of a solid root system. So you want to develop that for yourself. Now is the time. In that context, I will say this November 20th through early April of 2021, Jupiter is back in Capricorn, and there's sort of like a warning that Jupiter was poked its head into Capricorn and then retrograded back out earlier this year, you know, sort of end of March through the end of June. And so if you think about what was happening in the world during those specific months, you'll remember that there was some pretty significant restrictions on our movements, on the whole world basically got put in timeout, right? And so this cycle is coming back from November 20th through April of 2021. So just be ready, anticipate a similarly restrictive period of time. Just know that that's coming. There's no need for anxiety. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad preparation, right? So know that that's coming. I will keep saying that so that it's not a surprise. Okay, so the next thing that's happening, and I'll just touch on this briefly, is here we have Ketu at 0 degrees, Rahu 0 degrees Gemini, and of course Rahu is moving this way, moving always in retrograde motion. Ketu moving this way, about to enter Scorpio. Rahu here about to enter into Taurus. Now, this transition happens once every 18 months, and it really represents the karmic axis of the world. So it connects to what are our motivations? What's the mood of the whole planet? What experiences are we collectively eager for? And so we're going to go deep into this next week. And again, encourage you to sign up for that free class. There's some controversy, right? Rahu and Ketu being shadow planets, there's no real agreement about what signs they rule, if any, and where they are exalted or debilitated, if at all. And I've seen convincing arguments that it is in Gemini Sagittarius, where they've been for the last 18 months, that Rahu and Ketu are exalted. There's some convincing arguments to be made for that. According to the eminent astrologer Sri Bangalore Venkanta Raman, Rahu is exalted in Taurus, Ketu exalted in Scorpio. And so that would be this axis into which they are moving now for the next 18 months. So you know, Rahu and Ketu, the karmic axis in their, you know, either they have been or about to be in their most powerful position. And the sort of historical precedent to note is that, you know, the previous cycle, as I've said many times in these previous apocalyptic astrology classes, and the previous cycle that we're just coming out of corresponds to the dropping of the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The cycle after that was the assassination of John F. Kennedy. The cycle after that is sort of missing a major event like that, but the best I can figure is that it is Reaganomics and Margaret Thatcher in the UK that really shifted a major piece of how we do economics in the Western world. So that's the biggest sort of cultural shift that sort of comes even close to matching the drama of these other occasions. The cycle after that, of course, is 9/11. And then in this cycle, we have COVID. So looking at that line of like, so we know that these are massively transformative cycles. And so we want to look at what happens next then, right? And so the most recent cycle after 9/11 it was in the subsequent Taurus Scorpio cycle that the invasion of Iraq happened. And so, of course, in my opinion, one of the most tragic, horrific, worst human decisions of all time to move ahead with that illegal war crime of an invasion, just to not pull any punches about it. But there was also the largest peace movement in the United States ever before. And it really did activate and sort of equivalent or even exceeding in scale that of the late 60s and 70s in response to the crisis of 9/11, and then the sort of response of the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. So now we've had the crisis of COVID. We are having the crisis of COVID, sorry. And in the next 18 months, it's going to be very interesting to see what the response is. What is the sort of, okay, the people in power see this crisis and what are they going to do about it? And so we all need to be very, very vigilant to make sure that there's not a similarly catastrophic power grab or devastating attempt to manipulate world affairs. So let's be on it, and let's after Nagasaki and Hiroshima, we had the creation of the United Nations, which I would argue is a boon to the world, and at least it has its flaws and imperfections, obviously, but a move towards peace and global cooperation, right? And there was a general period of peace and reconstruction after World War II ended there. So there is that possibility as well, if we can collectively align ourselves and with Taurus is a fixed earth sign. And so Rahu is this sort of tornado type energy. And so when a tornado gets into a fixed earth sign, it can either be destructive of structures, or it can be a whirlwind of construction. So that both of those things are available to us, and it's up to us. We are karma arrives as ideas in our head, and then we have the free will to choose which of those ideas to speak and act upon. So here we go. Please be paying attention. Yes. Okay. So those are the nodes. And again, we're going to go much, much deeper into that whole cycle in this webinar and go into each sign and how it will specifically affect you, what area of life this energy is going to show up for you. So join us for that. Yes, Mars. Mars is, I don't want to look at that. Let's clear all that away. And let's talk about Mars, who has turned retrograde here in Ashwini Nakshatra, represented by the Ashwin twins, the horses, which are the divine physicians, the original progenitors of Ayurveda. And so Mars is retrograde here. So there's a lot of energy for healing practices right now. I can feel that in myself. Since Mars has been in this area, I've been much more disciplined with my diet and a lot more energy for exercise and wanting to pay attention to feeling good in my body. Mars in Aries is a very physical sign, a little very action-oriented place, and in Ashwini specifically about healing. And so Mars is now retrograde, and on the 3rd of October, will re-enter Pisces. I should say that I didn't mention any dates about Rahu. It is the 22nd of September, 21st, 22nd, that this transit happens. Rahu into Taurus, Ketu into Scorpio. So this is the autumnal equinox. It is the changing of the signs, as a changing of the nodes as well. Busy day. So this Mars' transit happens October 3rd, and it will then be back in Pisces until the 23rd of December. So it's another long transit where Mars is going to retrograde back, slow down, stop, and then turn around and head back towards Aries. And so when Mars is in Pisces, it's like the warrior in the garden. where, you know, the warrior is smelling flowers and composing profound poetry about metaphysical battles. You know, is not out on the battlefield at war, but is sort of in this more contemplative, abstract space. And if Mars transited through Pisces earlier this year, sort of mid-June through mid-August. And if you look at the arc of the year where most of the action was happening in terms of COVID and the ongoing rebellion in the United States and really around the world, or especially around the Black Lives Matter movement, there was a relative lull in that period. If my memory serves, I would need to go back and look at the details, but there's sort of this intense period in the spring and the summer. Yeah, there was action happening. There's obviously things happening, right? But then it was really in August that there was another surge of intensity. And so that's when Mars reached Aries. So now Mars is going back into Pisces, and it's this opportunity to reflect on the areas of life that we're willing to go to battle for. What are the metaphysical principles upon which for which we are willing to fight? And what are the spiritual battles that we're fighting? And what level of courage and discipline are we willing to apply to an abstract principle? So yeah, warrior in the garden time from 3rd of October to 23rd of December. Talking about December, looking at it, basically everybody should just take December off. Everybody should just plan to hibernate. There's a major eclipse happening on the 14th of December, a total solar eclipse. And really it's the 10 days before a total solar eclipse that you want to be sort of sheltering in place. And so, okay, so from December 4th through the 14th, you want to be protected. On the 21st, it's not only the winter solstice, but it is the grand conjunction where Jupiter and Saturn are going to cross paths, right? Jupiter's heading this way. And on the 21st of December, a once every 20-year event occurs. You know, and again, 20 years ago, just before 9/11 was the Y2K crisis and the dot-com bubble crashing. So, and again, this will be right in the aftermath of the election. And so, you know, expect some disruption in the stock market. Not going to say either way, but it's probably not going to be good. I don't expect the sort of spike that has the bubble that is ongoing now. I don't expect that to continue. So just be aware. Just be aware. Be wise. Be prepared. And then, okay, so that happens December 21st. Winter solstice, grand conjunction, and then the 23rd, Mars goes back here into its own sign of Aries, which again gives that sort of vigor, but fire planet in a fire sign is a more explosive energy to it. This more combative quality, this more impulsive quality where people are more likely to make rash, explosive decisions. And so that's what I'll say about that for now. And then lastly, we have Venus changing signs on the 27th of September. And so in just 10 days, Venus leaves Cancer and goes into Leo. And so Venus in Leo is not my favorite placement. Venus is, the sun who rules Leo is inimical towards Venus. Doesn't really, sort of has like a sharp attitude towards Venus. And it results in this quality of Venus, the planet of beauty, love, sensuality. And when in Leo, Venus tends to use her many charms to manipulate and to gain power through seduction and to, you know, instead of, you know, making a beautiful painting that is of benefit to the whole world, Venus is going to use her beauty and charms and wealth to empower herself and to act for selfish reasons. So just want to be aware of that, and in your relationships, just be wary of the tendency to use your your charm and seduction for personal power versus sort of benevolent purposes. And so Venus, that transit is the 27th of September through the 22nd of October. So just less than a month there. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say for today. There's always more to say. So I hope you enjoyed the newsletter this month. Please, I encourage you to join me for the Changing of the Nodes class. You can sign up, submit your email address, and you'll get an email with a Zoom link the day of the class. That's, again, happening next Wednesday, September 23rd, just less than 12 hours after the nodes actually change signs. So we'll get our first experiential feeling of what that shift feels like, and we'll go in depth with it. Again, join me and the lovely ladies of Cultivate Balance for a more, it's a really accessible, intro level, practical class about how to use the language of Ayurveda and Vedic astrology to better understand yourself, your friends, and the world around you, and to have this context that really will help you understand everything else that we're talking about here. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is interesting. And I hope that you will stay happy and healthy and take care of yourselves and each other. And let me know if you have any questions. As always, open to feedback, reach out. I am here with you, and onward, upward. Many blessings. Take care.